Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Balanced Life, Happy Life. We have Randy Rolfe with us tonight. Randy, I'm going to turn it right over to you to share with the folks who have joined us tonight to learn about nutrition. Randy.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much. Yeah, this will be a lot of fun. Um, as he mentioned, I've just, let's see, I should be the speaker now. Um, Anyhow, I've just published a new book, and I absolutely love sharing about NECAN. And uh, hmm, I hope I get to share the screen. All right. Anyhow, um, let me just start my PowerPoint. That will make sense. So today I'm going to talk about NECAN's Wellness Nutrition. And the reason I love NECAN's Wellness Nutrition is because their nutrition philosophy aligns so perfectly with mine. I started studying nutrition actually back in 1971 when I didn't know how to cook. And I wanted to be the cook for my husband and I. We were married in 69 and we moved to Virginia. And I had a summer off before I started law school there, and I learned to cook through Julia Child because he had these wonderful explanations about how everything behaved, what eggs do, and what flour does, and what baking soda does, and what meat does, and what it doesn't do, and all these different things. And so then I thought, well, okay, I know how to cook. What should I be cooking? So then I found Adele Davis's book in a bookstore. I was looking for something that made sense to me. My dad was a doctor, my mother was a sociologist, I was an academic whiz because that's all my parents let me do was study. So I knew how to research, and I didn't want these books that said, "Oh, grapefruit diet will do it," and "alcohol drinker diet will do it." So I was looking for something very reasonable, and it was the Adele Davis's that she'd done so much research in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s on the impact of our diet. And of course, this was before all the chemical additives, but she just focused on the importance of the A vitamins and the B vitamins and the C and the E and the D. And she didn't focus on minerals enough, and that's why I think she died in her 70s. But anyhow, um, she really told parents how to get their kids started off right. And this is my great uncle Scott Nearing at 99. He had a very famous organic garden in Vermont and then in Maine, and was a guru for many back to the landers. And my husband and I bought some land and were there for 4 years. We ran out of money, so we came back to the Philadelphia suburbs, but our kids were born there. So we raised them with this whole idea of natural health. And um, so this is my book. You've all heard about it, but I will share some ideas from this because it just supports NECAN so much. So the NECAN philosophy is total balance. And the way they do it is the 5 pillars of health with body, mind, family, society, and finances. And then we have 5 areas of health if you focus just on the mental and physical health. NECAN does air and water and sleep and energy, and we're doing the whole food today. And we have these Tuesday night events that focus on each one. And some of those presenters are here tonight. Thank you for joining me. That's very kind. We all support each other in NECAN. So it's really about creating the right environment for humans to thrive. So it's like a greenhouse, and this is actually Scott Nearing's greenhouse. In Maine, he grew vegetables all year round, so he was famous for that. So I talk a lot in my book about who's responsible for food quality because there are 30,000 different food manufacturers, but only the top 100 get 70% of all the profits. And guess where the profits are? They're in ultra processed food products. because they just put all kinds of additives. They use refined flour, refined sugar, refined protein, refined oils, and put them all together, and then add a whole lot of colors and flavors to make you think you're eating food. But it's really food. We are animals, we're creatures of the earth. We are supposed to be eating food as it comes from nature. And the most profitable corporations, oil, chemicals, and tobacco, are also major players in food production. And that was just revealed last week in the journal Addiction, that the tobacco companies are responsible for inventing ultra-processed foods, because between the 80s and early 2000s, they bought major food companies, including Kellogg's and General Mills, and they made all these fast food things. Their very first thing was Hawaiian punch, and that was a mixer for cocktails. So they took all the knowledge from that and said, we'll make this into a kid's beverage. And they did a whole lot of research, and they now have found in the study in the Addiction Journal, they went through the records of these tobacco companies that owned these food companies during those 20 years. And they actually said, well, all these things that we developed with chemicals for our cigarettes, the flavors and the colors, we can just put them in food and make stuff that will be more addictive for the people. They sold off their food companies in the early aughts when they started being sued and losing for killing people with tobacco. So their lawyers said, well, maybe we're in trouble if we keep doing the ultra processed food, because they're going to start blaming us for the chronic diseases. So they got out of the business, but the other food processors started doing it, copying them. And now we have over 3,000 additives in our foods. So Nikken is all about supporting natural foods, and they source everything from natural foods, and we'll be going through that quicker in a moment. But the FDA and the USDA, we tend to think, well, they're looking out for us, but they don't have the budget, first of all, but they look for false and misleading claims. And the Department of Agriculture tries to regulate farming practices and prevent contamination, like they removed some of the lettuces a couple of years ago because they were contaminated because of where they were processed. But it's just, they can't possibly regulate our food. We are responsible for our food. And 70% of American adults actually take food supplements. So they're obviously concerned about the quality of our food. Whoops. The U.S. dietary recommendations for 2020 to 2025 recommend 85% of calories should come from healthy foods. And one of the things I talk about in my book is that they say 15% of your food can be fun stuff. Well, this is a big mistake, because 15%, the ultra processed foods are not, they don't taste better. They're not any better. We're being told that we're just can't resist this wonderful, sweet, fatty food, and that we're so sedentary, so we're going to get sick. Well, it's all not true. It's the ultra-processed foods that are making us sedentary and putting on the weight and making us weak-willed, because they're addictive foods. You give us enough sugar, your brain's going to say, whoops, I need more of this stuff. So it's it's wrong for our government to say, oh, it's okay to 15% of our calories from garbage. But 58% of our food is from virtual garbage, ultra processed food. And for kids, it's 67%. And I just read a long article about school diets. They're getting worse and worse and worse. And Michelle Obama wanted to focus on nutrition for kids, but they got so much pushback, she had to just focus on exercise. So these things are happening. The the most powerful companies in the world are selling chemicals to put in our food. Oh, Vance is trying to get in. Let's see if I can get him in. So in a recent study, people eating a typical ultra-processed diet consumed an extra 500 calories each day. And they arranged it very carefully, so the same kinds of foods, just as much protein, just as much fat, just as much carbohydrate. But when they gave them the ultra-processed version, they ate an extra 500 calories a day. It's partly because of the addictive fat effect. It's also because they can eat it a lot quicker, so they get less satiety, so they don't even know that they're full and satisfied yet. So it's a trick, and it's a nasty trick. The American Heart Association, in their dietary guidelines, they say no more than 9 teaspoons of added sugar for men or 6 teaspoons for women, because they're assuming women are smaller than men, which isn't always true. The CDC says average consumption is in the country 17 teaspoons, not 9 or 6. And one 12-ounce soda is already 10 teaspoons. So kids can consume, 2 or 3 sodas in a day, and then we wonder why they don't behave in school. So here are the best reasons for taking food supplements. Even in the 70s, Adele Davis was saying our soils are depleted. Well, now they're turning into deserts, unfortunately. And here in California, we have a desert and they're running out of water to keep it wet for the plants. Nutrients are lost in processing, and no question about that, because most of our foods are processed with already processed sugars and oils and starches. The typical diet is deficient in some of the RDAs, the vitamins and minerals. And of course, our life of necessity is sedentary because we all work so many hours at desks. Also, we have imbalance in the macronutrient mix. Some people focus on protein, some don't want any carbs, some don't want any fat, and they're getting a not balanced diet. But biochemical individuality, all of us are different. We have environmental poisons and medications that mess up our particular digestion, our immunity, and the way we process our foods. Mental and physical stress increase our need for certain micronutrients, and poor digestion and aging also increase our need for certain supplements. So Niken's philosophy, I fell in love with their whole sleeping thing, because I know that that's when your body restores itself, and your digestion and your nerves and your hormones and your immune system all fix themselves. But you have to give the body what it needs to do that when you're asleep. And I was so excited when I saw that Niken's philosophy is all about whole foods. And when you read their ingredients, it's all whole foods. It's not some chemical your grandmother couldn't pronounce. So we want to do it in the natural way. And it's the first complete program that directly based on getting as many organic ingredients as possible. And you'll see that on the labels. We want to fill in nutritional gaps in your diet and get closer to nature. And I think it's really important. Eating is part of the way that we relate to nature, getting outside, walking in the park, getting some sun. But how we eating real food is another way. So these are Niken's special advantages, that they have very careful processing when they concentrate these food factors. And so they're doing the opposite of the food processors who purify everything. They're taking the things that are missing when they get purified and concentrating them into supplements. I love that they use physiological quantities. And these are not what they like to call nutraceuticals, that they're giving you like almost a pharmacological kind of zap. Everything is balanced. So it's like if you get enough vitamin A, as if you had a really good serving of liver, for instance, or that if you ate 2 oranges, you get that much vitamin C together synergistically. Clear labeling, I love that. You can go online before you even buy, and you can supplement and see exactly what's in it. That's not always true. And things are priced competitively, even though their processing is very careful and organic based, which means no GMOs, no hormones, no antibiotics, no pesticides, no herbicides, no endocrine disruptors, no heavy metals, and no irradiation. A lot of supplements, a lot of spices and herbs are irradiated based on research and tradition from around the world. So we have state-of-the-art research, but also Nikan searches the world for herbs that have been used traditionally for different things. And we address all the body processes. We really focus on the digestion, the pre and probiotic. And it's not just about having probiotic, it's about feeding those microbes that are already there. And that's the way Nikan is thinking. And also we're sensitive to personal preferences, vegan, kosher, paleo, and so on. So this is a scheme put together by Mary Bowser. Thank you, Mary, for how our supplements all fit together. And I take all of them except for the men. The core system is the daily four, where you get all your RDAs, the A's and the vitamins and the minerals, but they also are synergistically composed with vegetables and herbs that let the body recognize these things as foods. You're not just taking a thing out of the lab. It's a food. And the KVB is fabulous. I have that for my lunch. That is a powder, and it has a third of your protein requirement in it, but it's not just a protein supplement. It has so many other amazing things. It has chlorella. It has a lot of vegetables. It has what I like best is it nourishes the brain because it has the medium chain triglycerides. And then it has very probiotic, and it's exactly what you need in a total meal. It's like a supplement in itself, only it actually nourishes you. And it's a great way to watch your weight because it's very low calorie and it fits into any kind of drink that you'd like. Then I also like in the center, we have the best from the vegetable world and the best from the fruit world. The jade green signs is organic barley grass, and it's the highest enzyme vegetable that you can get when it's harvested immediately. And then we have the Siaga, which is the best from the fruit world. And it has the highest antioxidant rating of any drink out there. And these antioxidants are known to help with Siaga stands for heart and digestion and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm going to move on to these things so it's easier for me to come up with the best thing to say. So the Kenzen Mega Daily 4 is also geared just for women and men as they age, making sure their hormones are in balance. And the Kenzen Vital, oops, I keep jumping ahead. The beneficial bacteria are specially encased so that they don't just get killed by the acid in your stomach. They go straight down to the gut where they're supposed to be. So that's the other big advantage of the Kenzen Vital Balance. It's just so good for the digestion. And it is very sweet tasting, but it's with monk fruit and natural stevia so that you're not getting anything that's going to spike your insulin. And it's not too sweet, so you're not being addicted to sweetness, which is another problem in today's world. And it mixes well. It tastes fabulous. Then the jade green enzymes I mentioned, and Siaga, that's for gastrointestinal, cardiovascular, immune, antioxidant, and adaptogenic. That's combating stress. And we all need that today. And it tastes fantastic. And then my favorite of all is Digestion 420. There are 20 different enzymes for the four different kinds of foods, the fats, proteins, fiber, and carbohydrates. And with this, you will do better with any other supplement you take and any food you take, because the way we turn natural food into our bodies is through a healthy digestive system. So that's the first thing I always recommend to people when they ask, where shall I start? I just say, get digestion. So whatever you're putting in there will get used better. And the lactoferrin, I'm sorry, funny thing. Um, the lactoferrin is the immune factor that's actually in mammalian milk. It's in mother's milk, and they get it from cow's milk that are happy cows getting the grass they deserve. And what it does is it actually helps the baby develop the right microbes in the baby's gut. But actually, lactoferrin is found all over the body. It really is an incredibly important um, giant molecule, and it helps the blood, the quality of the blood, and it's good for the immune system and gut bacteria and everything else. And as you'll see at the bottom here, none of these statements are FDA approved because they don't pre-approve statements. That's not what they do. But we're supposed to say that anyhow. And you'll see at the bottom, so many of these are non-GMO and gluten-free and so on. We have a wonderful cleanse and detox because it uses all these herbs that have been known traditionally to support the digestion and the liver in detoxifying the body. But it's not like an aggressive thing that you're going to have to stay near the toilet. It works with the body. None of this is designed to manipulate the body, and I love that. The clarity is also best thing out there for supporting mental acuity, memory, and cognitive function. And again, wonderfully known herbs and spices from all over the world that are known to make a difference. And these are specifically fermented, so they're very easily assimilated by the body. The bergisterol is amazing. That is actually shown to help maintain levels of blood glucose, cholesterol, triglycerides, and blood pressure, which is amazing because people tend to go in the other direction because of the way our diets are and are stressed. But this will help keep you in a good range. And it's completely natural. It's a wonderful red orange that's grown organically in Italy. Now, omega green with DHA is extremely important. It's not sourced from fish oil, and there's very popular omega-3 supplements out there, but I know from my nephew who worked on a factory ship that you don't want the fish oil unless it's from a really good company. And Nikken gets their omega-3 from flaxseed, cranberry seed, algae, and not from fish oil. So you can get omega green and DHA from vegan sources. So that's really nice. And then we have immunity. Again, it's absolutely unique in the marketplace. I was counseling at a health food store, and a salesman came in and said, "Oh, I've got a mushroom immunity." And I'm like, "Ah, Nikken already has that." But of course, it wasn't sold in the stores. It's sold through independent distributors from Nikken. But this is unique. It has 14 different mushrooms from around the world, and each one has a special effect on the immune system. And there are 6 strains that are exclusive to Nikken. They're raised in special conditions. Like there's one from the Himalayas. It has to have certain low pressure and the right kind of humidity. And and they're also rich in the glucans, which are just being discovered as how important they are. Then we have, for bone health, we have the BDZ, which is based on the marine plant complex and K2, and it's designed to help build the structure of the bones. It's not just about keeping calcium in the bones, because all the bones are like a bank. Things need to come in and go out because like the adrenal glands have to pull calcium when there's stress. So this is to make the bones strong so they will hold on to the minerals, but they'll let them go when they need to. And it works perfectly with our calcium complex, which is naturally sourced from milk, best source of the proper kind of calcium. And it's easily absorbed, and it's purified. So even if you're lactose intolerant or something, it still is going to be good for you. And there's boron and manganese and D3, which were both very important for calcium to go into the bones and out when it needed. And I've learned a lot about manganese that gets much lower as we age. So if you have creaky knees, get some manganese or start taking your calcium supplement. The last one I'm going to mention, that's all of our 14, is the pseudomyrostoliate complex. And Nikan actually worked with the estate of the doctor who discovered this complex. It really helps joints move better because it helps support collagen, bone, and connective tissue repair. So sometimes you'll hear, oh, you can't regrow collagen. Well, you just have to nourish the body. It has ways of replacing things. There's also glucosamine and the MSM and the boswellia that we already know is in a lot of joint supplements. But the right kind of pseudomyrostoliate complex is unique to Nikan. So that's our whole set. And we have auto ship. When you see that little AS by any product, it means you can get it 10% off on your auto ship. And you get a monthly supply, but you can change it 3 days before each month. So we can keep up and not miss out on anything. So that's the end of my presentation. Let me stop share. And thank you for being here. Let me end the recording. I like questions.